And my proposed question to each of you for your final summations has to do with what not only the events that brought us here, the Watergate events, but also the subsequent events that we've discussed up to and including the current administration and its foibles, what all that offers by way of lessons that should be impressed upon the winner of the 2008 presidential election. And Frank, why don't you start us off?
Just got 5 quick things that I would tell her or him. Don't lie or cheat. Admit mistakes and quickly move on. Don't cover them up. Be humble. Listen to voices outside of your inner circle and get diverse views. And try to make the press your friend. Little is to be gained by making them your enemy.
Succinct and to the point. Sandy?
Well, I agree exactly with everything that Frank said, so I'll happily incorporate that. And it won't be surprising to learn that whoever wins the 2008 election, what I would say to our fellow citizens is that we should think about the extent to which we really do have problems in the structure of our basic institutions, and that the problems we're talking about are not simply the function of personality, are not simply the function of buttering up the press or being more adept in acknowledging error, but that it is time for a long overdue conversation about, you had this in the 70s, this is what the War Powers Act was about, although it hasn't been effective, but we really aren't having a serious conversation, even as we speak, about these more structural issues, because it's so tempting, for very good reason, to talk about the personal aspects of the presidency or kind of political strategy. And for me, obviously, I've now become perhaps obsessed by the extent to which our basic structures are part of the problem, as well as all these other things. But I think Frank's absolutely right.
Fair enough. Carl?
I agree with Frank. I agree with Sandy. But I think that the most important thing that has happened that is a reason for optimism in all of this is that once again, the press has come up with the truth. And that it is, that it really has performed its function. It stumbled a little at the beginning, but almost everything we know about the truth of this presidency, of this war, we know through the press, because they've told almost nothing of the truth. So I would go back to Frank's point about the press, but also I would recommend that if we're going to have real systemic change in this country, it has to begin with young people. And that we need to have a system of universal national service in which every kid in America does 1 or 2 years of some kind of government service, including, you can choose the military or whatever, but institute some kind of draft, because if there was a draft in which most people's kids were in this army, we wouldn't ever get in a situation like this again. But also, all of these structural problems might be addressed by another generation with less cynicism. And that some of that cynicism might come from a couple of years. How many people in this audience are students here? How many of you all would welcome doing national service? Not necessarily in the Army.
You got 4 people.
No, that's a start. No, I think that's a damn shame.
Yeah.
But that would, I would think, a commission on some kind of national service that really moves toward implementing legislation would be the biggest structural change you could have in this country over time.
Thank you, Carl. Bob, you get the last word.
I'm worried about how we're going to get to 2008. You read about the campaign that's going on, and I think they're going to even dumb it down again.
Yep.
And it is going to be a campaign that, rather than shedding light, diverts light. And that the media environment of cable news and the internet and so forth has so infused the business with two characteristics: speed and impatience. We could work on stories for weeks in Watergate. If you get something where we would have a little piece of a story, if you get the equivalent now, somebody's in your office and they're saying, let's get it on the web by 10 a.m.
Do you see what happened today?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Give the example. Tell the example.
Oh, you mean in Politico? Or
No, in the Washington Post.
Oh, what?
What happened today is that the Washington Post,
I'm going to put my newspaper on the
well,
report?
they did well by me. I'm an alumnus.
Okay.
They prepared 3 different versions of the story for the web on what, the way I read it,
Yeah.
on whether or not, as a result of his wife's cancer,
Oh, Edwards.
Edwards was going to drop out.
Right.
And on the web, you had to push a button apparently,
Right.
when you knew which one it was, and somehow the wrong button got pushed. I'm speaking figuratively, but not.
Right.
And for 51 seconds, the wrong version was up on the web saying he was going to pull out. And there's a big front page web story on the Washington Post site now. But to your point about speed,
Here for
what the hell is so important about those 51 seconds that you have to be in that kind of position?
Or call it
Thank
the
God
Florida
we
election.
got to type our stories.
That's right.
And we were responsible for all the buttons being pushed.
That's right.
Weren't we? And, no, but the election, instead of being about the speed and impatience, and if I may commend my former partner here, Carl, the issue is character. Who are these people running? Tell me who they are, and it will be easy to vote. And if we have a political media system of covering the horse race and worrying about this and trying to get this poll up faster or this story up faster, we're going to run right by the thing that matters, and that is who these people are. And Carl, to his credit, has a biography coming out on Hillary Clinton, and that will tell you who she is. And that's much more important than who her campaign staff is, or what the latest poll is, or what the latest back and forth with Barack Obama is, and so forth. Who she is the issue. And if we drive journalism away from biography, we truly let down the people. And who knows what we'll come up with in 2008.
On that note,
You do? Very nice. Thank you.